Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Silver Lining. This is episode 12 of the Silver Lining, the weekly geekly talk show where we discuss pretty much anything we want to talk about, normally geeky related. So we are probably not going to talk about medical breakthroughs. I am your host, Uncle Silver, Silver Greg. Greg, it really is. My name is Greg. Uncle does not appear. Uncle or Silver don't appear on my birth certificate anywhere. But thank you for stopping in. I am your host, and you are my guests, and you are also like my co-hosts because I love having the chat here, and I love having the chat to discuss things with, as opposed to just making a video and just telling you everything or telling you my opinion. I get to discuss my opinion with you guys, and I love that, and I get to hear your opinions, and that is kind of what we're going to do today, since I didn't really have a big full-blown topic. So what I offered was, does anybody have any topics that they would like to discuss? Which is normally what the second half of the show is. But I figured, you know what? We will do the whole show like this for today because I am lazy. And because the only topic I could come up with is a very controversial topic that I sort of discussed before, and I really don't want to get into. If you are familiar with the channel Awesome and all of that stuff, you will probably know exactly what I'm going with. Unless you're watching this much later, in which case just look up Jew Wario and you'll see what I mean. What if it's about Tetris? But hello everybody. Hello Flipnote, Siberian Ninja, Spider Knife, a Lizard and Crimson. How you doing? Suave, CT Scan, Last Owl Omega Experiment, and anybody else that I may have missed who I know is already here. So we had two topics. Hold on. Looks like the stream is lagging. Okay, I think we're back. Buffering? Yeah. My stream health is... Oh boy. Hold on. How we doing? Seems back. Lag and repeat. This won't show up on YouTube because I'm recording for YouTube, but my stream health, the little red light, the little green light is to red, but it says I'm at 6,000 kbs, so that should mean it's working. Chat, let me know how I am looking as far as you. I know you said you were lagging. I was lagging, but my little red light is on, but my my kilobytes per second is very, very high. So I'm not sure what's happening. We're good. Okay. Yeah, it's very confusing because my little red light is on. Had to put it to 160 mode. Oh, there we go. I'm back to green. Woo! We're back to green. I won't, Suave, I won't get into the Juwaria stuff. A new horrible accusations came out about this person who apparently I think they're saying he committed suicide in 2014, but these new accusations came out. It sort of cast the guy in a whole different light, but I don't want to get into it because we kind of discussed it already. It was if you go back and watch one of my earlier episodes of Silver Lining from a few weeks ago, it might have been episode 10. We discussed the idea of separating art from the artist, which kind of covers that in a way. I didn't know the guy personally, so I can't comment on what actually happened or like the interactions with the guy. Like, I have no history of that. All I can comment on is the idea of separating the horrible person from the good content that they created, which we already discussed, which is why I don't want to get into that. I did have two topics brought to... and before we actually get into the topics, I would like to thank Shade 1602. Let me get an actual thing here for you. I'm gonna try and remember to put everything in the description. On Twitter, on Twitter. See, I meant to have all of this stuff up, and I did not have all of this stuff up because I always forget to have all of this stuff up. Shade Come on, Twitter. Come on, Twitter. Come on. Okay. Shade 1602. What? Oh, good lord. It's messing up on me. Come on. Yeah, see, I think something's wrong with my connection here. Hold on. Oh no. Hang on. Come on, baby. Stop breaking on me. Work faster. Here we go. Okay. On Twitter at Shade16, which is the word 16. Oh no. Shade 16. Oh no. I would like to thank them for the new intro graphic. So thank you for that. That's very, very awesome. I commissioned them last week, and well, her. Yeah. And it was an amazing, it's amazing looking picture. So I'm very, very into it. So thank you so much for that. I look forward to future work for, I'll probably do an outro at some point, or at least extend the intro to have some more animations. Damn you, Comcast. Oh no, Lizard, it's totally fine. I mean, if you guys want to talk about it, we can. It's just, like I said, we already discussed all of that stuff in episode, like I said, I think it was episode 10. Yeah, Twitter's been acting up for the last hour or so. Yeah, it was kind of acting up on me earlier today. So with that being said, there are two topics that were presented. I'm gonna go with the first topic for now, and then we may get to the other topic later. The first topic I want to discuss is, Suave actually brought this up. The idea of reusing assets in video games for future games. Which is to say, Suave, you're still here, right? Okay. Which is to say, it coming out with a full-blown, this is how I interpret that. The idea, hey, Thorn, I interpret that as you reusing assets, graphics engines, character designs and models and stuff, all of that stuff, to create a full-blown sequel and to sell that as a sequel. I don't mind it. I think that it's good. I think that, yeah, okay, so here we go. So yeah, I always felt that Ocarina of Time, though iconic, was kind of restrictive. They're making Majora's Mask with assets they already built, but the game is so weird. Minion Man. What's everyone talking about? Minion Man, we're actually getting ready to get started talking about something. No. Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon being a game where designers were free to breathe. See, I don't mind it. I'll tell you why. I think that the idea of reusing assets and creating, if you're able to reuse them to create what feels like an entirely different game, I think, hey, Aqua Sakura, I think that is a prime example of the importance of things like gameplay. You know, we talk about the idea of a sequel and how a sequel is supposed to look better. Maybe it's supposed to look different. Maybe it's supposed to have this different things to it. But in Galaxy 2, Dragon Ball video game series is known for, oh my god, yeah, they were. I know 1, 2, and 3. Dragon Ball 1, 2, and 3, Dragon Ball Z 1, 2, and 3 on Super Famicom were very similar looking from what I remember. It's like the designers are free to focus on their stories and characters instead of doing what the studio is telling them to do. In that way, say Breath of the Wild gets a sequel like Majora's Mask, but the devs are getting free. I think that it represents their freedom, but I don't know. The idea that it would represent their freedom would insinuate that the first game was restrictive. And I don't think that that's always the case. I think that reusing assets and being able to make a fresh new, a fresh feeling new game is a strong indicator of how important things like gameplay are. You know, there's so many people out there who equate graphics with importance. You know, not just being good or bad, but they equate it with importance. You know, the idea that when a sequel comes out, it's supposed to look different. You know, it's supposed to be better and brighter or this and that. And I think the importance is in gameplay all the time. Whether it's the first go of the game with that graphics engine or it's the second go, if you take all the assets and rebuild the same exact game, that's a problem. But if you take all those assets and you say, okay, we're going to add different puzzle elements, we're going to add a different control scheme, we're going to change the atmosphere of the game. You know, Super Metroid, you could take every asset from Super Metroid, brighten up the graphics, and alter how the game plays, and turn it into a kid's game. You know what I mean? A very simple game. It just goes to show that a lot of that stuff is not graphics and assets like that, to me anyway, aren't as vital to the experience as storyline, gameplay elements, how the things interact, controls and control schemes. All of that stuff is way more important. So being able to recreate a game or create a different game with old assets is actually, I don't know, I kind of dig it. I think it's good, that I think it's creative, I think it's interesting. Do I prefer it? Not always, though. That is the one thing. I appreciate that they're able to do this, and I appreciate that it creates a focus on those things that I mentioned, but I do like an update to the visuals. I do. If you're going to use a lot of the same assets, I would appreciate, first of all, I would appreciate sharper graphics. I would appreciate brighter, or, you know what I mean, a better atmosphere that you're trying to convey. You know what I mean? If you're trying to convey a creepy atmosphere, a creepy sort of aesthetic, then in the second one, even if you reuse the same assets, I need you to adjust things like the brightness and the contrast. I need you to adjust the lighting effects and stuff so that I get that more. Even though the textures on the walls are the same thing, that they even use textures on walls anymore. But I don't know how they do it now. But I would appreciate that you try to get your point across better with those graphics. Use assets to create new stuff. Looks at SNK. Oh God. Yeah, and it's SNK. You know what, Phil? SNK is a good example, because for their fighting games, they for the King of Fighters series, the King of Fighters series looks very similar as you go. There's enough of a difference to see when it's the same asset, but maybe it's a little bit sharper, maybe the characters are a little bit bigger, and you can tell there's always a bigger jump from one year to the next when they change up some of the sprites and everything. They don't reuse the same sprites. You know what I mean? There's a jump there, and it's like it feels like a bigger, like a more Madden games, like the sports games, the sports games that are year to year to year. I don't like that, just because they're on a clockwork schedule of year to year to year. But if you went every couple of years and said, okay, well, these graphics were still great, so we're going to increase the gameplay, we're going to increase the AI, we're going to increase some of the lighting effects and the weather effects, and we're going to update the rosters and stuff like that, I'd be a little more okay with that. Street Fighter 3 First Try, Double Impact, and Third Strike. Very similar graphic style. I would say that they used a lot of the same graphics. They obviously used the same graphics engine. They felt like different games to me. I think Third Strike was amazing. Smash Switch will probably be like that. Here's the thing, Minion. I think the Smash Switch is just, I do still think it's going to be 4. I do still think it's going to be a port of 4. But the risk of reusing assets that the game might come off as a glorified expansion. Yeah, you know what, Suave? It's funny, that used to not be a concern. See, that's probably the most relevant issue with all of this, is that nowadays we get DLC packs. So when you don't do those massive overhauls to the graphics engines, you get people who are upset because this could have been DLC, as opposed to a whole new game. In the old days, you needed to buy a whole new game because there was no DLC. So if they reused assets, it would feel like, oh, this is like a sequel. This is the follow-up game. But no, now it could have easily been sold to us as DLC. And I think that's where the change came in. That's where we started demanding more. Splatoon 1 to Splatoon 2. Obviously, it couldn't have been DLC because it was different systems. But say, for instance, they released Splatoon 1 on the Switch with everything that it had from the first one. And then later on, they just released DLC. Everything was released as more DLC. I wouldn't have liked it because Splatoon 2 had a graphics upgrade to the things like the lighting and reflective effects and stuff, especially the reflective effects off of the ink and everything. I don't know that you could have done that with DLC. Maybe you could, maybe you couldn't. But if you could not, now that I have it, I would not have wanted to not have it. Mario Galaxy's internal name was Mario Galaxy More. Shouldn't have sold it as a sequel, but as a standalone expansion. One of the egregious examples of asset reuse with Bethesda. Star Fox and Star Fox 2. Yeah, Star Fox and Star Fox 2 were good examples because they, obviously it was a relatively simplistic graphic system, but Star Fox 1 ran at 15 frames per second? If you would have given me Star Fox 2 with the same exact assets, but it ran at a higher frame rate with smoother graphics and more creative bosses, I would have been fine. I would have told you, okay, the graphics engines are the same, but the game feels like so much more. But, part of that is because the first one felt limited. SNK reuses everything. Yeah, I mean, they've been reusing their logo for decades. Similar but different assets. Super Mario World. Even Super Mario World's assets were reused before it was even completed. Just not for a standard SNES cartridge. Okay, hang on a second. Okay, there we go. Metroid Prime 2 Echoes was an example of that. Let's make a weird light dark world. And it worked. Metroid Prime 2's light dark world, it probably didn't hit everybody as well. They didn't enjoy it as much, but I thought it was great. Hey, Shade. Welcome, Shade. I'm trying to catch up to the chat here. Oh, I'm almost caught up. Welcome, Shade 1602, ladies and gentlemen. The Shade is the creator of the artwork for the intro, so thank you very much. Well, DLC's predecessors were expansion packs, that you would typically buy separate. Diablo 3 wasn't Reaper of Souls sold as a DLC, as an expansion pack. I remember Grand Theft Auto 1 or 2 had expansion pack. You would go and you bought the $20 disc, and you needed the first Grand Theft Auto to make it work. True, but I think something like Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon standalone DLC doesn't require the base game. See, now here's the thing. When a game doesn't require the base game, that's not necessarily, that's not DLC. That's not downloadable content for a different game. That's a whole new game. It's a different version of the game, but it's not something that requires the first game. That's like saying you could go out and you could buy Splatoon 1, or you can buy the Splatoon 2 DLC pack. You know what I mean? Like it's a different, even if that game had everything in it, that's not DLC. That's, even if you could download it, that's not downloadable content to one game. That's a whole new game. Super Mario World's assets were reused for an SNES test cartridge Nintendo used to test the hardware. Graphics for Super Leaf. How much of a difference is the SNES F-Zero and the GBA? Oh, that I don't know. Gaiden game. Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know. Now, see, those would be ports, because this is they've kind of leaned over into port territory, where the idea is, you know, if they're making an F-Zero game for the GBA, is it the same one? You know, what if they've reused all of those assets but make a different game? You know what I mean? If they reuse all of the cars but then make different tracks, you know, how does that feel? Because that's what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of, they use all the character models, they use a lot of the items and stuff, but then, you know, in the Legend of Zelda game, for instance, you know, you mentioned Ocarina of Time into Majora's Mask. They may use similar looking or the same character models and stuff, but they're introducing a different engine, you know what I mean? Different mechanics. Not an engine, different mechanics. Gaiden. Yeah, it's Gaiden. I always just say it either way. No, it's Gaiden. Yeah, because I used to say Ninja Gaiden when I was in grade school, and they would make fun of me. Expansions that don't require the base game are like most card game expansions. You don't need $1 million, but pack one. Okay. Yeah, see, and that's the thing. I don't think that they're expansions. I don't think that they are DLC. You know, they're new. That's like saying because then you kind of get both of them. It's weird. Like, for anybody who plays card games, Ninja Gaiden. For anybody who plays card games, Exploding Kittens is one of the examples that I have. Exploding Kittens is really kind of silly card game. There are two versions. There's a not safe for work version, and then there's a safe for work version, where the not safe for work version has a little more graphic nature to the art. But it's still all cartoony and everything. You can merge the decks and then play it as one game. It's all the same game. It just so happens that the red box has it's a little more not safe for work artwork, but it's all the same game, so you can buy them separately, you know. But that may be a little bit of a bad example because they came out at the same time. What's this about Exploding Kittens? But yeah, I think there's something to be said about that. But if you don't need... Now here's the question. When you talk about a game that doesn't need the original, does it have the original on there and then it also has this extra stuff? Or is it a whole standalone story? Because if it's a standalone story, or even if it's a story that's related to the first one, but it is on its own, that is a separate game. It may be the same assets, it may be all of that, but it's a separate game. You have to judge whether or not it's worth $60, because that's always the big discussion. Like, that's my rating system. Is how much would you pay for it? You know, from not buy it to full price is basically is basically sometimes above full price. Up to about $60, I would say, is usually where my rating system goes. But I don't know. I don't really have too much of a problem with it if they're able to create a better game. If they're able to create a game that feels like a natural progression of the previous game. Just refreshed off them to get a look over. But that's the weird thing. Even though they're separate games, when they sell themselves as standalone expansions, I always feel like I might be getting into weird territory. Well, Suave, yeah. If it's cheaper, that kind of... See, the big problem is it also worth another $60? That's the problem, because when people talk about money, when they talk about buying a video game and they talk about paying full price, you think about things like development costs and whatnot. You know, why do they make games $60 now? Well, because video games costs more to make. You know, they are hiring more programmers. They're doing things. You know, they're not. It's no longer a first person game that you press start. There's a story screen, and then you start playing the game. You know, there are cinematics that go into it. There's a lot of programming. The sound effects are way better than they've been for a long time. You know, there's a lot more that goes into it. That stuff costs money. When you take every asset and you make a new game, you start to question, okay, they didn't create all of this stuff, so is it worth another $60? So once you drop the price, once you say that, oh well, it's looks the same, but it's a different story, so it's only $30. All right, fine. That's perfect. You know, the problem becomes when you keep selling. When I'm buying the fourth in a series of games, and it looks exactly the same as the first one. All the sound effects are exactly the same, and all these are glorified fan hacks. You start to question whether or not you should be paying $60 for each of these games, and it's difficult, you know, especially when the games get shorter. That, I think, is the biggest problem, is when you take all of these assets and you say, oh well, it's a brand new game, new storyline, but there's only 10 hours of gameplay instead of 30. That's when you start to, was that really fair to do? Was that really fair to ask of the consumers to pay you $60 for a game where you didn't create new half the stuff and you shortened the entire experience? I don't know. An example that matches the BS Zelda. This BS Zelda games experiment, let me tell you. Which reuses Link to the Past and jerry rigs a new story and altered world directly on top of the original game code. And you're going beyond the altered boundaries. Oh, okay, yeah. Well, the BS Zelda games were a little bit of a specialty item because of because they were the broadcast, the Satellaview. They were those kind of games. So I think that the problem was they didn't bother creating all new assets for that, because the way you play it was the new experience. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, you know what? Actually, this actually leads into that other topic. It's kind of like the idea of virtual console games. You know, the idea of how much can you honestly expect people to pay for what is not a brand new creation, but is instead you're just rehashing the same old thing. Lost Worlds, Super Mario Brothers 2, The Lost Worlds was, well, you know, Super Mario Brothers 2. That's a good example where it's essentially a ROM hack. It's for all intents and purposes, it's a ROM hack. Is it worth another full price? I don't know if that's fine today. I don't know if that's fine. Hey, Dr. Juice. Talking about new Super Mario Bros. Wait, what is there? Is there a new? So basically, the new Super Mario Brothers series. Yeah, the new Super Mario Brothers series, and now that you mention it, is kind of exactly the same. New Super Mario 1 and 2, and then the one for the Wii U. Are they really worth? Should I really be paying $40 to $60 for these games? Especially in a day and age where now, yes, we can get them as DLC. You know, again, it was different back when games were $30 and $40 and we didn't have access to DLC. So, okay, maybe you could have justified it, but yeah, a lot of the stuff we should be getting as DLC. Let's see here. Currently recovering from me. Does it work? Okay. So yeah, it's. I forget where I was going with that because I had but yeah, it's. I don't know. I don't know that it's. You can justify selling those games for full price. New Super Mario Brothers U plus Super Luigi U. Yeah, well, they released them as player's choices, yeah, but they weren't player's choices originally. That's the thing; they were full price originally. Because yeah, they are essentially, and then that leads into how much would you pay for them as DLC? Actually, no. You know what? This leads into an interesting topic that I had discussed with. I have talked about this for years with Madden games and stuff like that. Is this actually came up with Super Smash Brothers with Smash 4? Are we getting to a point where if there is not a big graphics overhaul, can they even justify releasing a new game? I am convinced that Smash 4 is going to be a port of the Wii U version. The Wii U version was great. The Wii U version was essentially perfect. I don't think there was anything wrong with it whatsoever. Even if they don't port over the Smash 4, even if it's Smash 5, I fully think that it's going to be the same or a slightly overhauled graphics engine from 4. Does that make it 5? You know what I mean? It's Suave. This actually is perfect. It's Smash. I can't help but buy. No, Siberian Ninja. I'm gonna buy it. No matter what it is, I want it to be Smash 4. I want it to be the Wii U version with all of the DLC built into it. I want that. But even if they don't do that, here's what's going to happen. In my opinion, here's what's going to happen. Here's what's going to happen. In my opinion, if they do not do that, they're going to use the same or slightly upgraded graphics engine, except they're going to take away a bunch of characters. They're going to take away 20 to 30 of the characters. How is that an upgrade? If you don't upgrade the graphics engine, but your idea of making it part 5 is you scrap half the roster and you start over with new DLC characters, that's not an upgrade. If you're going to upgrade the game, you're going to redo the graphics engine. You're going to overhaul it completely. It may look similar, but it's going to be overhauled from the ground up. But if you're just going to reuse the character models and the stages and all of that stuff and the game modes and everything, and you just take away characters, that's not a better version of the game. That's not a newer version of the game. Technically, it's an older version of the game. It's what the game would have been before it was 4. It could be Smash 4. I honestly think it's going to be Smash 4 Definitive Edition. I think that the easiest way is to just say Definitive Edition. Does Splatoon 2, despite being mostly reused Splatoon 1 assets? I had talked about that, Minion. I consider it to be a sequel because they changed most of the levels, even though they're bringing some levels back. They changed the specials. They changed a lot of the weapons. They did overhaul the graphics. It's all similar graphic styles, but everything has better. That's what I was saying earlier. It has better lighting effects. There's better reflective effects. The game itself, I think, just looks overall sharper. There are different game modes and stuff. I think that it counts as a sequel the way it is. I think it's okay to call that part 2 because it is different enough from part 1, especially with the new Octo DLC coming out, especially with the fact that the soundtrack, like, it feels like a different enough game. Even though the gameplay is similar, it feels different enough as a presentation to be considered a part 2 to me. Hold on a second here. Greg telling he's wrong. I think very similarly. Yeah, Smash 4 will but improve bits. It might be a risky lose. And that's the thing. Everybody's like, oh, I would rather have it as a brand new game. You would rather lose half the roster and risk losing some of the best characters? No, I want everybody that's there now, and then I want another 10 characters. Providing the missing characters are replaced in some fashion. But if you're going to replace them with something similar, why get rid of the other ones in the first place? Why get rid of Snake and replace Snake with Sheik? They're the same character. They were so similar. Just keep Snake in the game. It's more interesting. Terrified of the game being littered with DLC characters again. Yeah, Smash 4 Deluxe with everything, for all the DLC from the first one, which is what they're doing with Hyrule Warriors. Hyrule Warriors is Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition, and I think it's everything from both versions of the game, from the 3DS and the Wii U version, which I also want in Smash, because I want there was the Smash Tour and Smash Run. I want Smash Run. I thought Smash Run was great. I imagine they'll show it during the E3. Yeah, I imagine that either Smash or Pokemon are going to be in E3. I definitely believe that. It's Splatoon. That's what I was bummed out, CT, that they didn't do that. They didn't call it SPLA the number 2, the letter N. We'll see what that Smash thing is doing. I think Nintendo just needs to establish it sooner rather than later. Well, Spider, they're going one at a time. They want to build hype for Pokemon, and then, you know what I mean? I think Pokemon is the hype they're going to try and build. Smash, they don't need Pokemon. They really don't need to build hype either. But I Smash, they really don't need to build. The hype for Smash is going to come from character reveals before the game is released. You know, and then the hype is going to do itself. I don't understand if they got rid of some of the Fire Emblem Pokemon. The Fire Emblem characters, Indigo, wherever you are, I love you, but some of those Fire Emblem characters can go because they are a little samey. Some of the Pokemon characters, yeah, we can get rid of some of those. Yeah, Mega Man, Cloud, Ryu, Bayonetta. Bayonetta ain't going anywhere. Villagers, I better not be going anywhere. This is the company that can rile up people with the title alone. Yeah, the Metroid Prime 4 reveal. Was that clones versus skins? Out there. Oh, okay, because Konami. yeah, that's true. Hey, Zeta. Game is going to be similar. They should just include everyone they made, because it'd be a waste of resources otherwise. Yeah, I don't know. Here you go, Suave. Take all the resources out and make a Fire Emblem fighting game. Raise the cost of authentic. No, I don't think so at all, Dr. Juice. I don't like that idea at all. Isn't Pokemon usually its own direct? I think so, Suave. I think Pokemon, they usually keep a direct for itself, which so you don't need a Smash direct. Which would mean that if they did a Pokemon Direct, they would use Smash at E3. And get rid of Lucina. Knowing the Pokemon Company, they'll do a mini reveal. Hey, Devil's Cry. Rarely been shown off at E3. Yeah, I don't think that they'll. All I hope they keep is the Miis. I want them to keep the Miis, and I want them to allow the Miis to be used online. If the Miis are really balanced characters like they were claiming, there should be no problem with using them online. I never made a Mii character because it was pointless, because I couldn't use them online. So it was a waste of my time. We can keep Marth since he's a pro tag from the first game. Ike because he's the most popular character, and maybe Alma or Celia. Or Celica? What? Am I getting that right? Was that right? Ryu needs to go. Everyone else can stay. Hey, Elements. Although Smash has a solo direct. Oh yeah, Smash did have a solo direct. Yes, they did. One second. Yeah. I'm like, I don't know. It's warm around here, so I think the pollen is starting to kick up. Celica. Oh, okay. Like the car. Oh, well, they don't make that car, guy. They haven't made that car in years. When it comes to Smash, they need more villains. Yeah, but Smash is. Smash Wii U had 4 solo direct. Was it? Did they have that many? Did they have that many that were full blown directs? Because I remember the one that was like a half an hour or something. Or I don't know. I don't know what the hell I'm thinking. I just remember something with Smash being very long. Practically do that already. Yeah, Dr. Juice, you're not wrong though. They charge you for save slots. Keep reusing Robin and Crom's daughter. Hey, real Chris. But Smash is probably the perfect example for this topic. It's reused assets. It's a lot of reused assets. But when they reuse the assets, they're adding a lot of extra stuff. I mean, it's never been 1-to-1. There are no two Smash games that look very, very similar, so it might not be the same thing, but it's not like they're going through the character roster and going, who are we going to add? Well, what do you think? Should we add Mario? Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's a whole bunch of stuff that is blatantly the same from one to the next. But it all feels different enough with extra game modes, with new characters and stuff. It feels different enough that no one questions the idea of buying a new Smash Brothers. There's no question of it. The biggest question the only time that might have happened was when, do you buy the 3DS game or do you buy the Wii U game? That's when you start to think, well, they're kind of the same thing. But even then, but they have some different things, but then one has portability, another one doesn't. There you go. That's it. Ridley's become a joke in Smash. Ridley's going to make it to Smash one day. He really is. Started with the discussion about Wii. Yeah, this isn't much different of a topic. New engine, tweak engine, but it's usually the same assets ported over. Yeah. Smash Direct revealed that Greninja and a lot of... Yeah, I remember that. I remember the other... The Smash 50 Direct... That's the one that I was thinking of. That's the one that was like really... It was like a half an hour. And I think that's the one where they showed Mewtwo at the end of it. And I remember an Etika video of him freaking out. But I guess Etika videos of him freaking out are relatively common. Where's the fanboy saying that the Xbox One is the best console? Anybody saying that the Xbox One is the best console works at Microsoft and is being watched, so that they have to say that. Sorry, I was off topic. I really want Solaire in Dark Souls. Seeing and see. Suave, I don't know. I kind of think that that's possible. I think that with an amiibo of him coming out, I think that it's entirely possible. The Xbox is the best console. No, not Todd Howard. Todd Howard. Would it be Todd? It might be Todd that is trying to sell you an Xbox over and over again. Solaire and Smash. Well, he has that Praise the Sun. So would it just be a reskin of a Wii Fit Trainer? Here's a question about that. Wii Fit Trainer, Wii Fit is no longer relevant. If it's a new Smash, do you put Wii Fit Trainer in? This is interesting. At what point do you need to separate from these? We don't know, Latimer. We were just saying that it would be interesting if they were in there, but I personally don't care about them because I can't use them online. Get rid of Wii Fit. Linkle and Smash. If you're judging it on hardware alone. Yeah, I kind of get that. I get what you mean by that. It theoretically, it could be the best. It could be the strongest, but they don't use it properly. Instead of Wii Fit Trainer, let's have Labo boxes. Will you miss the new intro? Will it be at the end? Yeah, Elements, I'll throw it. I do it at the end. Until I get an outro, I'll do it at the end. And when is Wii Fit training relevant? When was Wii Fit? Well, Malcolm, when they were trying to sell you Wii Fits, and there was a Wii Fit on Wii, and then there was a Wii Fit on the Wii U, like there was a specific Wii U one. So they were trying to sell it. They were trying to make it relevant. I'm a little bummed out that they don't use Wii Fit Trainer in other things. If you're not going to sell a Wii Fit game, then if you want to keep the character alive, use the character in other elements. You know, when you when you have, I don't know, because you have motion controls. So when you have the little graphics at the beginning of the motion controls thing, use the Wii Fit Trainer. It'll be a fun little thing where people can look at it and say, hey, hey, that's Wii Fit Trainer. Or they can say, hey, who is that? And then someone could say, oh, well, that was the Wii Fit Trainer. They used to have this whole thing. Will be axed considering Nintendo discarded the Wii brand. Yeah, they probably want to separate themselves from anything with the word Wii in it. Jokes that people are on for Labo boxes for Smash. I'm telling you, dude, I would take it. No, you know what? You have a Labo box for Smash, but then under the box, it's Snake from Metal Gear. Talking brand names that are super popular. Dark Souls is that. We know Nintendo and Namco have a pretty good relationship. I'm still bummed out that the Dark Souls for Switch isn't a trilogy. I hate that. I love that it's a remaster, but I hate that it's just one game. They should do a complete garbage dump on Smash. Make Joy-Con a character. I see what you're doing there, Greg. Put a Labo waifu. Every Smash has had a console-like mascot. I can see the Switch using Labo things. Because they kind of need something to, something almost directly related to the console. I can dig that. Wiimote safety trainer. Yeah, I love it, CT. I love doing that. To use the character, because I don't want to waste the character. I mean, if you search for fan art of the character, you're going to find some very lewd stuff. But Shovel Knight had an amiibo and he wasn't in Smash. Oh no! I'm not saying that because there's an amiibo that they're going to be in there. I'm just saying that since there is an amiibo, there's a good reason you can. And I would love Shovel Knight for Smash, by the way. Snipper clips and Smash. Oh my God, Dr. Juice, don't say it. Don't say it because they're gonna hear you. They're gonna hear you, and they're gonna put snipper clips in, and they're gonna put snipper clips in as a duo character that jumps around with two of them, and people are gonna be furious because it's not the ice climbers. Don't do it. Oh, would Labo be a boxer? Labo will be a boxer, but the Labo is dressed up like Little Mac. Perfect intro for both Snake and Labo. There you go. If you either have Labo and then Snake is underneath as an intro for Labo, or you just have it as an intro for Snake, and then whenever he hides in the cardboard box, it's a Labo box. Do you think that Labo is a method of Nintendo to combat VR? No, I don't think so. I think Labo is just another one of their goofy ideas. And, I don't know. It might work. It might not. I know that as a kid, I would have went nuts for Labo. Bummed out that the Dark Souls for Switch got delayed. Yeah, the reason it's not a trilogy is because it's multi-platform. Yeah. Someone talks about Labo, I just think we're playing with the box. My boy's a box. Ooh, Switch Dog, Siberian Ninja. I like Switch Dog making it to the game. Rather have ice climbers than snipper clips. See, you're gonna get it. Now you're gonna get snipper clips, and you're gonna throw a fit because they're not the ice climbers. Good lord, you are blowing up Discord. My reason for Marina and Chunky Kong. I don't want too many Kong characters. That's I don't want too much of that. I don't like too much It's kind of why I'm not a huge fan of all the Fire Emblem characters. I don't like too much representation from one series. It's bad enough that every time there's a Mario character, we have to add one. Although a Toad would be interesting. Getting Toad for Smash would be interesting. I think if Konami were to intro a character, it'd be Bomberman. It'd probably be Bomberman. Because they have the game already. I would love it to be Simon Belmont, but I just don't know that that's going to happen. Pyramid Head from Silent Hill 2. Just because it would be weird. Cole Phelps in Smash. And every time you make it, one of his moves is that he tries to hit you with the betting slips. Why do we care about Ice Climbers? I mean, they only had one game. Yeah, CT, I think they actually had 2 games. I think there was one that wasn't released over here. I love the Ice Climbers original NES game, and I would love to see another game. But I didn't really care too much that they were in Smash. I think just because it was the double up, with the moving, there were 2 individual characters, but they were one. I thought it was just very unique. I thought it was cool to see them. Ice cool. I just thought it was cool to see them, which is kind of why I like Duck Hunt Dog, because it's just unique. It's a unique kind of character. Put some screenshots just to show the stupidity. Oh yeah, I don't have Discord open. Your surprise would be Crash. I could see. I like the idea of Crash. I think Crash is getting in. Yeah, I do like the idea of Crash being in the game. I think that would be, I don't know, when I think about what video games have been through for all these years, and the fights between the companies, and you know what I mean, Sony and Nintendo fought in the beginning, and just the whole rivalry between these companies and stuff. I find it so amazing to see, Cloud from Final Fantasy VII is in there. If Crash gets in there, like Sonic is in there, there was the whole Sega Nintendo thing. Like, it's just so amazing to see Smash sort of bring all these people together. Spyro would be interesting. I don't care too much about Spyro as far as that. I just wasn't a huge fan of the games, or rather, I didn't really play the games. I can't say I wasn't a fan. But yeah, I think it would be interesting. I think it's a shape wise, it's a different character, which I like that idea. Which is actually, if you've ever played, I don't know if you guys ever played Them's Fighting Herds. I think there's a demo out for it or something. I don't think the full version is out yet. It was a My Little Pony fan game, a fighting game, and then they ended up rebranding everything. Hasbro told them to stop, so with the Lauren Faust contacted them and created new characters and stuff for their fighting engine. But it's a different kind of fighting game because the characters are shaped differently, so it's just very interesting. Not being in for wasn't it like Shade? Wasn't the justification for the Ice Climbers not being in it because graphically it was difficult for them or something? Wasn't that what they were saying? It would be insane. Why can't we be friends? Played. Yeah, I love it. Breath of the Wild Link set, or his moveset. I think his moveset would end up looking a very similar to what already exists. A bow and arrow, some bombs. Like, I don't think that. I love that it looks like Breath of the Wild Link, but I honestly think his moveset's going to be the same thing. If we have Crash, can we have a match against Mario, Sonic, Crash, and who else? I don't know who else we have. Mario, Crash, and Sonic, and we need one other character to be the ultimate why can't we be friends battle. Master Chief, yeah, he does represent Xbox. I don't know if I don't know. I don't think, I feel like he wouldn't be a good fit. I don't know. There's just something about him that I don't think would be I think he's a great character. I just don't think it would be a good fit. Ooh, Blaster Master for Smash. I like it. I like how this whole topic just descended into who's going to be in Smash. I want characters of old who haven't had the limelight in years. Which is why Shade. That's kind of why I liked Rob the Robot. If they wanted both games to be balanced roster-wise, yeah, chat keeps moving. That's what they need to. Okay, can't speak for the tech side of things. Okay, I'm like, oh, Pac-Man. Okay, so Pac-Man. I'm like, I gotta speed down here. Here we go. Hopefully I didn't miss anything. Smash really dominates any conversation. Yeah, it kind of always does. Once you get into it, I think because there's so much speculation possible, it just turns out to be very, very interesting. Banjo being in Smash could bring interest into a new game. Yeah, I like that idea. There's been a lot of talk about that. Oh, Bubsy gets into the game. I've heard talk about that before. The idea that you could bring in characters from older franchises or dwindling franchises and sort of renew interest in some of those franchises. I just don't want, I wouldn't want Smash to turn into the farm game. You know what I mean? I don't want it to try and take some of these characters and turn them into advertisements for other games. You know, because that's what happened. We get a new Fire Emblem, we get a character from that Fire Emblem game. That's an ad. That character is an ad. And I don't mean ADD, I mean AD. They are an advertisement for whatever happens to be coming out. And I don't want that. It's a playable commercial. And even if the commercial is good, it still kind of takes away from the long-term playability of the game. You know, when you play that game 20 years down the line, when you play Smash 20 years down the line, you're going to say, oh, there goes Mario and Link. And then you're going to go, huh? I think that's why when the first Smash came out and what's his name was in it, Ness, it was kind of like, who the hell is this? Yeah, it's been getting annoying lately. Indigo is boiling wherever he is. Yeah, somewhere Indigo is just going, I don't know why I'm so angry. I don't want my characters to be ads. Marina the Robot Maid would be perfect. The only game she's had was Marina from Mischief Makers. I'll take her. It's a little bit obscure, but I'll take her. When we get Shade, the thing is when we get into that, that's when you start to get into what obscure characters would you like. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want my characters to be ads. That's when you start getting into that. Marina's too obscure. That's why she's a little obscure. If you were making, and there you go. There's the problem right there. If they were going to make a new Mischief Makers character and then they were going to add her to Smash, that character is an ad. That character is there because they want you to say, who is this? She's from Mischief Makers. What's Mischief Makers? Oh, it's this game on the Switch. Like, and that's, I don't know, kind of defeats, it's sort of right. Glover. You know, I love Mischief Makers. I thought Mischief Makers was an amazing game. But that's what that character turns into. You know, you get a little obscure when you do that. I have argued for a while that one of my favorite characters that I would love to see in Smash has been Arthur from Ghosts and Goblins. I think that Arthur's weapon sets are, you know, the weapons that he picks up can be utilized as moves, as his move set. I like the idea that when he gets over 100%, his armor breaks off, but he still fights. When you use the special attack with his gold armor, I like that as his final smash. You know, I dig that. I would love to see that character. I don't need a new Ghosts and Goblins. But if people see the character, they'll say, is that Arthur from those Ghosts and Goblins games? And they'll know exactly who it is. Mr. Domino for Smash. No, irritating stick. For anybody, if I say irritating stick and you know what I'm talking about, then congratulations. You too have played some terrible games. Arthur was so good. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that's right. He was in Marvel vs. Capcom. Pit situation here being thrown into the game could potentially lead to a new game. It's possible. It's possible, Shade. I personally, I would love to see a new Mischief Makers. I would like to see that. Although, really, I'll tell you what I would like to see. I would like to see a brand new Jet Force Gemini. I would like to see that. Now I'm just fascinated, and now I'm just irritating stick. That terrible PS1 game based on a Japanese game show. I think so. Wasn't it made from like a kid's idea or something? I forget exactly what it was. Quick, we've got 2 seconds. Everybody ignore elements. Annoying orange for Smash. All right. Give me a second. Literally like 30 seconds. and then we will be right back. Yeah, because we're technically in the second hour. So give me a quick second, and we will be right back.